Yoo-hoo! Talking about exponents some more. Okay, so let's zoom in first and chat. So today, let's just recap yesterday real quick. If you had two numbers with the same base, like x squared times x to the fifth, remember that we just added those exponents together to get x to the seventh. Okay, so today is a little bit different. Today we are going to take something, and I'm going to take it basically a variable raised to a power, and I'm going to raise it to another power. Okay, so this is called a power property. So what if I had something like, what if I took x squared and I wanted to raise it to the third power, like that? Well, let's think about what this really means. Doesn't this mean to do x squared times x squared times x squared, right? Because I have 1, 2, 3 of these things. Okay. And then think about, let's break that down even further. What does each one of these mean? Isn't x squared just x times x, right? So then I would multiply by another x times x, and then by another x times x. So if I were to evaluate this whole thing, basically it comes out to be x to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th power. Well, again, gosh, I wish I could just bypass all of this and just jump right to here. But you can. What are you doing with these numbers? Hopefully you realize, oh, hey, you just multiply 2 times 3 to get 6. Yes, that's how the power property works, okay? So when I raise something to another exponent, I'm going to multiply those values. Now, it is very common for students to mix up these two rules, your product rule and your power rule, okay? And all the time, because you start doing these and you mix them up and you're like, I don't remember, was I supposed to add them? Am I supposed to multiply them? I don't know which end is up. I don't know what's going on. Here's what I highly recommend that you do, okay? You can always just, you know what I used to do sometimes that would help me? I would memorize a sample problem for myself. Okay, there's the two rules basically summed up in two little example problems. Okay, so if I'm doing a problem and I can't remember, if I'm like, ugh, am I supposed to add these or multiply them? I don't know. I go back to my model problems, and if I know that these two are right, I just see, well, which one am I doing? Am I doing two numbers that have the same base and then just adding the exponents, right? 2 plus 5, I'm sorry, 2 plus 3, that's how I got to 5. Or am I raising a power to another power? And if I am, then I see, oh, okay, to get from 2 and 3 all the way to 6, I had to multiply them. So this is when I multiply, and then this was when I added. Okay, so that's just a little tip. And I used to do this all the time. So when I would get a quiz or a test, I would literally write at the top of my paper, I'd write out my model problem. I don't know, big help for me. So if your brain works like my brain, give it a shot because it can be super helpful. I know having something that I know is right in front of me, correct in front of me, then I can, I can come back to it as I need to. All right. So just a little bit more about the power property. Let's say that you had more than one thing in there. Say you had something like 3x squared and you wanted to raise that to the third power. Huh, interesting. Okay, well, this works the same way, right? So again, I'm going to write it out, but you don't have to write it out every time. So this would mean 3x squared times itself 3 times. 3x squared, 3x squared, 3x squared. And then this is a problem like we did in the last one. I would multiply all the numbers together. 3 times 3 times 3. That's going to get me 3 to the third power. And then I'd have all the x's. I'd have x to the 2, 4, 6. 2 to the, right? If I multiply 2 and 3 together, I get to the 6th. So you could leave your answer like this. I would since 3 to the third is not that big of a number, you probably want to do that one out. 3 times 3 times 3 is just 27. So you get 27x to the 6th. Okay, so if there is more than one thing inside that exponent, so let's try another one. Say you had 2xy squared, and you wanted to raise this to the 4th power. Okay, so everybody in there is going to get this exponent of 4. Everybody. So now that's going to be 2 to the 4th, x to the 4th, and then it would be y to the what? If I already have a power and I'm raising it to another power, it'd be to the 8th. By the way, you did that with the x too, right? The exponent on the x was just a 1. So 1 times 4 is still just 4, right? So you could also think about it that way. And then 2 to the 4th, that's up to you if you want to do it out. That's another one you probably should, because 2 to the 4th is actually not that big. That's just 16. So you'd get 16 x to the 4th, y to the 8th. Okay, these can be very tricky. So the only way to get good at them is to practice them. So let's go ahead and try a few on this sheet together and see how we do. All right, so let's look at number 1. They have 3x to the 3rd, and I want to square the whole thing. So here's how I operate. I take the 2 and I give that exponent to everybody in there. So this is now going to be 3 squared. X to the 3 times 2 gets me 6. Okay, you should rewrite that as 9x to the 6th. Okay, remember, if that first number is small enough, and I think most of these are. So it's, I mean, if it's 4 to the 19th, you're not going to do that out. That's ridiculous. But if it's a number, if when you do this out, this number that comes out is under 100, that's reasonable, and you should do those out. Okay. All right, let's try 3 because I have it on my screen. All right, so again, I'm going to give it, there we go. I'm going to give everybody the exponent of 3. So that'll be 2 to the 3rd, u to the 3rd, v to the 6th, right? Because you're going to multiply 2 times 3. And then 2 to the 3rd is 8. And I'm done. Okay, not so bad. Let's see what else we have going on here. Let's try one like, all right, let's try 12. I definitely want to do one like this before it sneaks away on us. So, okay, if you remember from the last video that anything to the 0 power is just 1. So I'm still going to give everybody that 0 exponent. So 2 times 0 is just 0. And again, for b, 2 times 0 is just 0. So both of these just turn into 1s. The whole thing is just 1. Okay? You actually could have skipped this part. If the whole thing is being raised to the 0 power, the whole thing is 1. That's it. It just becomes 1. All right? And if you want to know why, go back to that last video again. And I talk about why that is that way. Okay, let's see. Let's try, maybe I'll do 1 or 2 more. Did we do 5 yet? No. Okay, let's try 5. All right, so everybody inside that parenthesis is going to get this exponent. So I need to multiply those numbers together. So I'm going to get x to the 9th, y to the 6th. That's it. That's it. Okay, maybe this isn't so bad, right? So try the rest of them. Let us know if you have questions.